there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. You know, I've heard from a lot of viewers over the years who tell me they have trouble drawing the second eye. That is to say that they do a drawing of one eye and it looks good to them, and then when they try to draw the other eye it doesn't match. Well, I've done a lot of videos over the years showing how to draw eyes, and I will link to them in the description of this video, typically showing how to draw both of the eyes almost simultaneously, and that's a more of a traditional way of teaching how to draw eyes. But I'm a big believer in there being lots of different ways to draw. And so today what I'm going to do is show you how I could draw just one eye over here on the left all the way to completion, all the shading, everything. And then I'm going to show you a technique of how to draw the second eye so that it matches. I'm going to do all of this in time-lapse, but the other eye, I'm going to try to do much more of it in real time. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so I finished drawing the eye, and I know some people are going to say, hey, you did that all in time-lapse, you didn't show us how to draw the eye. Well, rest assured, I do have lots of different videos that take you through the process of drawing an eye. Like I said, in the description of this video, you can find those. What I'm going to do now, though, is show you how I would try to draw the second eye. And again, this is not the way I would typically do it. I would try to draw both at the same time. But if I did need to, as I do now, need to draw a second eye that's going to match it. First of all, I would measure with a ruler from one side of the eye to the other, maybe using this as a point, and then using this far end of the tear duct as the other point. And as I measure it, I'm coming up with just a little over an inch and a half as my measurement, okay? So just to make a mental note of that, and what I'm going to do now is draw a horizontal line across over here. And I should say, you know, some people will say, but I don't want to use a ruler. I just want to do it by, you know, looking at the page and just sort of figuring it out without a ruler. In which case I would say, yeah, you know, you can try to do that. I think if you really want the precision of an eye that perfectly matches the first one, I would urge you to consider this method here. So like I said, this is an inch and a half and just a little bit more. So I'm going to go over here. Eyes, the human eye, normally there is one eye's worth of distance between the two. So I'm starting here at this edge of the tear duct. I'm making sure that I stay on the line that I drew, the horizontal line. And then I'm going to go to that inch and a half, or I guess it's, what is this? Inch and 5/8 maybe, I think it ends up being, to find out where I should draw this first line. And so I'm going to come across here and draw a vertical line to figure out where the next eye is going to start. And again, I said there's one eye's worth of distance. Over here I'm going to measure again that sort of inch and 5/8, I think it ended up being. And then line up here to finish off the other side of this rectangle that's going to help me with placing the eye. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase here. This is not necessary, just the bridge of the nose. But as long as you've got this box in place here, this rectangle, you are ready to begin drawing the other eye. Now I am going to try to do as much of this as possible, especially the line placement, using real-time shooting here. And as I put my ruler, it's not necessary to draw a box around this one because then you'd have trouble erasing it. But as I put my ruler across, I see that the tear duct is a little bit above there. So I'm going to start by beginning to get this tear duct line in place to make it match. Now, the upper line here is the line of the fold of the eyelid. Okay, the way I chose to. You might want to measure it across there if that's going to get confusing for you. But I'm going to keep this line of the upper eyelash just a little bit below, keeping a gap there. Again, by measuring, if I put the ruler across the top here, I can see that there's maybe like a 1/4 inch of a gap there. So as I draw this across and begin to figure out the upper eyelash line, I'm coming across here, and as again, you can keep trying to measure as perfectly as you want to, but I'm just going to kind of guess at it here that this looks like it's nearer the top, nearer to this line than it is down near this line. So I'm figuring this is going to be close enough over here. Close enough, right? Now this is a very curving line over here. I know that the bottom of it has to touch this lower line. So I'm just going to come over here and begin putting in this curving line that's going to extend there. Now again, this might help if you get the ruler back in there to see the sort of shape that's occurring there, and you're reversing it. You're trying to do a sort of mirror image reversal of that, very gradually coming down and resting upon that lower line. I would say start with this shape of the outline of the eye. It's the natural place to start. What you could do, though, if you want to, is go ahead and start to work on the fold of the eyelid. Now, I'm looking at the tear duct here. This one, the fold of the eyelid seems to extend a little bit past. And then I'm constantly comparing, as I draw this line, the distance between this fold and the upper eyelid line. So you can kind of see as a general principle that if you really want two eyes that match each other perfectly, drawing them one at a time like this creates an added struggle that you might not have if you had tried to draw them both around the same time and make adjustments as you go. But sometimes maybe you didn't have a plan. Maybe you were just like drawing an eye for the fun of it. You got all the way to the end of the drawing and you're like, hey, this is one of the best eye drawings I've ever done. Let's try to draw the second one. Sometimes you haven't planned it all out in advance. But I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the angle of these lower eyelash lines. And, it doesn't need to be a complete mirror image, especially within the realm of the eyelashes. There could be variation. But you'll notice here that I don't really start to indicate. Hey, indicate. I broke out the word indicate, guys. Haven't used that one for a while. Classic old school Crilly. I don't begin to indicate the eyelashes until around halfway across the eye. So I got to make sure I do the same thing over here and not, don't start putting them in too early. A lot of drawing, I think, as you get more experienced, has to do with being very hesitant and checking before you commit to something with a super dark line. And I think over time you begin to realize, I could be wrong, this could be wrong. If you're trying to do this kind of super precise drawing, taking care before you commit to the final line to do sort of measurements and so forth. Again, I'm always consulting with the drawing over there to make sure that it matches. And then, of course, we come to maybe the trickiest part of all, which is to draw the iris. And at this stage, you really want to compare the distance here, and the distance here, and the distance here. I'd say there's sort of 3 different distances that you're going to have to be comparing, and you're flipping it, which makes a challenge. Actually, before we get to that, because I think it'll help us, is if I get the tear duct line in here first, I think that'll go a long way to helping us see the distance, right, to where this the iris is going to start to come out of here. The iris is coming out of here. No, the line of the iris is beginning here. I can check down here and see that it's probably extending to somewhere around there, somewhere around about here, in this general vicinity. And then over here, I'm sort of measuring. So this is one way, again, if you've sort of painted yourself into the corner of having to draw this a second eye after you've completed the first one, this is a way you can see me sort of finding my way towards where the circle of the iris should be located. Would I normally draw a circle this way? No, it's a kind of a crazy way to try to draw a circle, but I'm trying to make sure that the iris is in the correct location, that it becomes the mirror image of the iris that we have over here. And again, you look at where the pupil is in relation to that line that you'd put in there, then that's going to help you. Well, it's the dead center of the circle, basically, but even so, it helps to keep making those little measurements. One thing that does change in terms of, a mirror image, this highlight is going to be over here. You're not going to do that as a mirror image because that wouldn't make sense in terms of lighting. I'm going to kind of cheat it a little bit, but I think it's going to come in here maybe a little smaller because of the eyelash kind of interrupting where that would be. Now, I can see right now I've already put quite a lot of time into this real-time section. What is it, boy, almost 10 minutes of getting the lines in the right place. And I can hear it now that some people will be like, hey, you didn't show us how to shade. But again, I think we have to decide, what is this video about? Is it about how to draw an eye, something that I've covered maybe as many as a dozen times already, I'm embarrassed to say, in which case I can encourage you to click those links and go check out those other videos that do take you through more of it in real time. Or is it a video about this problem of trying to draw the mirror image of the eye? And that's exactly what it is, and that's why you're probably going to see me kick it into time-lapse and cover the shading as more of a time-lapsed thing. I'm going to do the eyebrow now. Again, you're sort of maybe coordinating with the other lines that you've drawn and seeing that the eyebrow line extends well past the tear duct. And that's going to allow you to get that into place. And I'm afraid that this laying out of lines is really going to have to be the main focus of the video. As I suggested earlier, I'm going to have to leave the shading part of it, as so often I do, because it does take a long time. If I were to try to do the shading real time, it'd be 45 minutes maybe to add it onto this video, and everybody falling asleep as I very gradually, incrementally work my way toward shading. I'll say this, though, that the way I've done it, I've created this banding here of color. I think even at this stage it might make sense for me to indicate the band of color. And then maybe let's just talk about fine-tuning things a bit. This is quite thick over here. I think I haven't made it thick enough, so you can kind of come in and start making adjustments to make things match up. So, in one sense, you've got a challenge in terms of redrawing what you did, flipped around. But in another sense, you have the advantage of having this model that you can keep consulting over here. I think drawing the second eye is natural. If you try to do it this way, it is naturally very challenging because the first one you were free to draw it any way you wanted to. The second one you are boxed in, if you'll excuse my pun, trying your best, to replicate something. It's always harder to do an exact replica of something else, but I also think it's kind of helpful to be able to keep consulting over there, see what you did, and you can maybe relax a little bit into this mode of checking, measuring, and redrawing what you have already done. Well, I think we have reached the stage where it's time for me to kick it into time-lapse. Bring in old man time-lapse to help me speed through this second eye. I think what I may also do is add some indications of hair just to sort of finish off the drawing. But that's about all the time we have for the real-time part of the video. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and we'll be back with a few final words. All right, well, that brings us to the end of things. I hope next time, if you find yourself in that situation of wanting to draw the other eye, that bedeviling other eye, that you can come back and find that this video helps you out at least a little. But for now, I want to say thank you to anyone who has supported me by getting any of my books, like Brody's Ghost, my graphic novel. We got the Realism Challenge, my book on hyper-realism, as well as the Drawing Lesson, my graphic novel that teaches you how to draw, and my very latest book, Mastering Manga 3. My latest, but not my last. There will be more, I promise, coming in the year ahead. But for now, let me go ahead and lay down this pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll be back with another one real soon.